Hello there, my name is Nikolaos Muzarakis, and for the purposes of this particular video, I'm an Excel enthusiast, also a numbers enthusiast, which is the Mac version of Excel, and what we're going to be using for this tutorial today. And what I'm going to be showing you is how to organize your expenses, particularly a big ledger of expenses over a given time period. For me, it's a year, but you could do it monthly as well. And the important part is that each one of these expenses is just going to have a date, a name, an amount, and then we're going to give it a category. And they can be as many categories as you want. We're going to define them all and put them into another table, which is going to give us the totals for each category. And then we're going to use a pie chart as well to read from that second table the values and present to us how our expenses look by category, so we can see where the majority of the money is going and maybe pick out good candidates for cutting spending. Now, this is a task that I thought was going to be a little bit easier than it was in numbers. It might be easier in Excel, but for those of us with Macs, this is going to be really useful because it requires a good deal of functions. But the good news is that these functions are backwards compatible with Excel, or say cross compatible with Excel, because Apple, when they made numbers, they wanted Excel sheets to work right out of the box in numbers. So these are all based off of Excel formulas, and I'm going to be giving you these in the description and in the comments, so that you can get access to them. Alright, so to get started, what we're going to do is we're just going to open a brand new numbers sheet right here. And we have this nice big table, and the only thing we're going to do with this particular table is we're going to take away the header and the footer because we don't really need it, and we're going to shrink it a little bit. Let's get that a little bit smaller. And we're going to give it four columns and as many rows as you want, as much data as you have to start with, plus one. So I believe there's 5 in my example data, so I'll put 6 here. We'll go get that data right now. Just for now, it's going to be a date, a name, and an amount of money. And we're just going to make sure that the data types are correct when we paste. So this in particular, if we look at this cell format window, it's a date and time, which is going to make sorting easier. This is just a automatic text, nothing really special here. And over here we have a currency. I happen to be using the Canadian dollar with a 1,000 separator. And in this fourth column, we're going to put our category. So in order to make a category cell, you need a special data format, which is going to be pop-up menu. And we're going to have to copy this into a couple of places. So before we do that, though, we do have to name our categories. I'm going to start with 3 right off the bat, just to keep things simple. Call it food, heating, and rent. Why not? So now that we have this, we can see that this behaves just like a regular pop-up, and you can label your expenses with any of those 3 labels or categories. And what we're going to do is we are going to copy this cell into all of the cells below it, and I'm going to give you a quick shortcut for that. We're going to Command C, and then we're going to Command Shift down arrow on the arrow keys to select all of the cells below the current cell and the current cell itself. Then we're going to Command V to paste all of those categories down there. Now we have a category for each entry in the ledger, and we can change them all and give them their unique categories. So now what we're going to do is we're going to start to separate these amounts and get them ready for grouping. So when I let go of this, we're going to add three columns, and when I let go of this, numbers is going to try to be helpful and extend those data types into the cells we just created, but we don't really need that, so we're just going to delete all those. We are going to, however, again, Control C, and then in this time we're just going to Shift Command Right to get the selected cell and all those to its right, and we're going to Command V, and we're going to put those categories up in the first row as well. And each one in this case should have a different category. They should all be unique, 3 categories, 3 columns, 1 for each category. So Now we're gonna sort these a little bit. We're not sort them, but we're gonna give each one a category so that we can observe what happens when we have these different expenses of different categories going into this extension of the table that we just created. So all of these cells that I've just highlighted are going to be filled with formula A from the formulas that I gave you, or that I will give you in the video description. So we're going to select this, copy it, and we have to do the first one in the upper left first before we do any of the others, because it is one formula, and we're going to copy that over. So to do a formula in Numbers or Excel, we're just going to press the equal button, get that formula started, and then Command V, we're going to paste it in, and Numbers gives you this nice tokenized formula style to make it a little bit easier to read if you're writing them, but trust me, I've done all the hard work for you already. Just paste it in as is, and then press enter, and that is exactly what we want to see. So when we copy and we paste this, and now again we're going to go Shift Command right, and then we can do it again, Shift Command down to get the whole block of cells and paste. And now we just pasted that formula into all of these cells, and what that has done for us is beautifully sorted our amounts into different columns depending on what category it is. And of course the columns are as they are labeled up here. So if I change this one to food, it's just going to be a copy of the first column. But the fact that they're unique is going to help us, so we want all of them to be unique and separated so that they can be ready for the next table that we make. Before we make the next table though, we do have to give this table a name. I'm going to call it expenses, just to keep things simple. And we are then going to add a blank table. I guess we could put it down here. There's nothing forbidding us from doing that. It doesn't need a name though. What it should have, however, is the number of categories plus 1 rows. So 4 rows and 2 columns, like so. Now, first thing you got to do with this second table is this first cell, A1, has to be exactly the same name as the name of this table up here, so expenses. Don't forget that, very important, because formula B, which is going to be going in these 3 cells right here, requires that this be the same as this title so that it can find the data that it's looking for. But before we put formula B into this sheet, what we're going to do is we're going to have to copy the categories over one more time. So I'm just going to take 3 at random, and I'm going to put them right here. Now again, they do have to be unique. So food, heating, and rent, 3 unique, perfect. And this A1, we can hide this. We don't really need to see this anymore. It's just for the internal purposes. Same goes actually for row 1 over here. We can hide that, and we can hide all of these columns. A shift click will get us all of them at once, and we can just hide the selected columns. Makes our expenses ledger a little bit neater. All right, now it's time for formula B. So we're going to do what we did before again. Take formula B, which is the bigger one. I'm going to copy it, and equals, paste. A little bit bigger, a little bit scarier, but it's okay. And press enter, and again, copy, shift, command down, command V, paste. And to make this a little bit clearer, I'm just going to make sure that it's a currency. Put the thousand separator on there, why not? And I'm just going to make sure something real quick. Oh, no, don't do that. Never mind. I just wanted to unhide these columns and make sure that they're also money. They are also money. Perfect. Or are they automatic? Oh, they're automatic. All right. Well, just for clarity's sake, I'm going to make these a currency as well. There we go. It just helps with the formatting when it gets down to this last level here. So we're going to hide those one more time. Oops. We're going to hide all the columns. There we go. And, oops. One more time. Hide selected columns. Perfect. So now we're going to put in our beautiful pie chart, which is going to take, oops, the chart menu, which is going to take the data from this second table. Now, before you add the chart data, I'm just going to give you a little tip. Apple's a little finicky with its charts, and it likes to pull data from tables with a header row or column so that it knows what to label them. So for this particular table, the second one we've done, I'm just going to give it a header column so that when we add the chart data, it'll take the label from the column. Now, unfortunately, it's set to plot columns as series instead of rows. We want to plot rows as series because our data is horizontal, but it will nicely take the label from the cell next door and make our chart look very neat. For this particular one, let's take away the legend and go to the wedges and instead put data point names directly on the labels so that we know where everything is. And we can make it look a little bit more businessy if we take these leader lines and make them angled. Very nice. Okay. So that is your basic structure. It's really simple to add and remove different items on the ledger. First, I'm just going to take away this header column. We don't really need it, just for the beginning to get the pie chart to recognize the labels here. And in our expenses, if we want to add a new one, there you go. Just add a new one. I'm just going to copy this down for the purposes of display. And you can see that our pie chart just updates automatically. There's nothing we need to do. If we change this from food to heating, changes to heating very nicely. Rent makes everything very organized, very nice to look at. So that's the basic idea. If you want to, there's a couple things you might want to do. I'm going to explain how to do those now. The first one is probably the most obvious. If you want to add a category, okay, it's not as trivial as you might hope, but it's still not that difficult either. So what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to extend, we're going to have to not extend, but unhide all the columns, unhide all of the rows in this table, and we're going to select all of the categories. So in case you're curious how I did that, sorry, I'll do that again. You press food, then you press Shift, and you click the last cell in that column. Then you can press Command to get an arbitrary other cell, and then you press Shift to add more cells. Click the last one over here, and now you have these kind of L-shaped selection of these categories. And this is important because when you go into those categories to add one, you have to make sure that you add it right here as well for all of them. So let's say food, heating, rent, and I don't know, entertainment. Now, just for safety's sake, I'm going to Command A, Command C. I'm going to copy this category because we need to add it to the these down here as well. So I'm just going to do that real quick. Add a new one, entertainment, beautiful. Now we can add one more column, and there we go, beautiful. Numbers is going to helpfully fill in our information for us automatically, and we're going to change that to entertainment because we need to make sure that everything is unique. And it hasn't have any expenses in it yet, so I'm going to add an entertainment expense or change one to entertainment for display purposes. And we're going to add another row here, and once again, helpfully, beautiful, beautiful. It's just going to add that that amount for us. And to make sure that our little pie chart keeps up here, we're just going to edit the data references and bring that down, and our entertainment is in our graph. That is how you add a category. Pressing the done here. There is one more thing you might want to do. This is just for completion's sake, to make sure that you're not left twisted in the wind if you want to do something. If you look at formula, here it is, formula A, this particular number right here, this 4, that's not what I want to do. This 4 right here, this is what corresponds to the column of the category. So if for any reason you want to, for example, add a column of information, let's say we add a column after here, and you have some other data, it breaks everything, right? Don't panic. All you have to do, let's say you have some other information here, doesn't really matter what it is. Okay, you have some other label, that's completely fine. What we're going to do is the following. We're going to go to this first formula, we're going to change that 4 to a 5, all right? Now that one's fixed, but we again have to copy, shift, command, right, down, and paste. Everything's okay again, all right? So this is the only place formula A is used. You just need to edit formula A and make sure that this corresponds to the column of the expense in your ledger, and you will be 100% fine. So I hope that has been very informative. I know I had fun writing these formulas, so I hope you can get some use out of them in Excel or numbers. And if anyone's found an easier way to do this, please let me know, because I really hope I haven't wasted all this effort. But if I did, at least we all learned something. All right, it's Nicholas Muzarakis. Till next time, cheers. Hey guys, Nicholas Muzarakis here. One last thing I wanted to mention that I forgot to before I ended the last video was just how to sort your ledger properly, and also your category table if you really want to. Now, the important thing is that you just do not press Command A to select all, or obviously press it from the drop-down menu here. And also, don't just sort the column raw like this. What you're going to want to do is make sure you select A2 and then Shift Command right and down, just to make sure you get A2 all the way down to the bottom right cell of your table. And then right-click on the column you want to sort, usually column A or D or C. Maybe you want to sort by the thing you spent the most on. And then you can sort rows ascending or descending by A. You can also do it here on column D. Now I'm just going to change this to entertainment so that you see that it will group properly. So select all those again, sort rows descending, and it groups them very nicely. And you can do the same thing over here, but just make sure, again, you do not select the first row of A1 and B1. Just make sure you go A2, Shift Command over, down, and then you can right click and sort rows ascending or descending, and it'll go alphabetically. Now this will change the order of the items in your pie chart, but is that ascending? Yeah, there you go. It'll change the order and it'll look different, but the numbers will be the same. Okay, so don't be alarmed by that. Just wanted to mention that one last thing to you. So again, have fun with this. I hope it's useful to you, and I will see you next time. Cheers.